Hello friends, last year my gardening season was quite successful. I had an abundance of tomato produce. I had distributed quite a bit to my friends and family, but I still had a lot which I needed to figure out how to store. So in this video, I will share all the ways I have stored my tomatoes to make sure I had enough tomato supply for the next future months. I basically had mostly three types of tomatoes. One was cherry tomato, second was Roma tomatoes, and then third was beef stock tomatoes. And I had a couple of heirloom plants, but they did not give a lot of produce, like a few tomatoes. That is all I had. First time I had so much, so I didn't have enough space in the freezer, so I had to get a new chest freezer to be able to store these tomatoes. First one was these cherry tomatoes. You can see these I have stored whole. I just individually froze them on a plate in the freezer, and then I packed them. So these are all individual tomatoes which you can pull out and then directly put it in the curries where you make, or you can thaw them and make into sauces. This was beef stock tomatoes. They are a little bit bigger in size, so I had to quarter them and individually frozen them on a flat sheet in the freezer and then pack them up. The reason being that when I want to take out pieces, I can just pull out a few pieces at a time and use them, so they don't stick together too much. Now this is a Roma tomato, as you can see. These again were for the final produce. I had a mix of all. I couldn't store them separately, so I just bunched them together. I have like this. I have 2-3 more bags, and this is mid-Jan. I've not been buying tomatoes since end of August last year. The bags I use are Zwilling bags. This is not a sponsored video. I had bought it from Costco, and this is the way it basically you just pull out all the air and vacuum seal your produce, and it saves quite a bit of space and also packs them tightly. This is one of the last harvest of the season. We had started to get the frost, and then I had to pick raw tomatoes off the plant. So these are the ones. I've used half a batch of this in making a chutney, and this is there for the uh, later use. We can make a chutney out of it, or we can make Mexican sauce, tomato sauces. These are raw tomatoes. So one of the things I did with the tomatoes were like reduce them and cook them into sauces, basically reduced tomato sauces, and I had done a couple of different ways. This one is the pasta sauce. You can see the basil here. This I had made a batch of big batch of tomato sauce with basil, and then I had made it as cubes and then again packed it. I need to make sure this has a little bit of condensation, so I think this has come when we did the individual freezing in the freezer. That condensation is from that, so I just need to little bit find out better ways of doing the individual freezing. But this block is so easy. If you need to make pasta, just put them in the pan with garlic and you're ready with the tomato spaghetti sauce. And these two are basically reduced tomato sauces. I took a lot of tomatoes, pureed them, and then cooked them down, and then I made batches using ice cube trays. So here they are. These are also very used. The texture you get when you use them in curries, the texture of the curries you get is so different from when you use the actual tomatoes. So I have few of them in hand, so that I can just when you are in a rush, you can just use this and it will reduce your cooking time. And one more way, what I did was initially when the sun was good, I did sun-dried tomatoes. So these are cherry tomatoes. Basically, I sun-dried them for about 7 to 10 days, and then I just later on cook them. I think there's a process to do the sun-dried tomatoes in olive oil, so I just followed the recipes and did this. These are good to use with sandwiches. They taste very well if you put it on your sandwiches and as a condiment. And one more thing I did was make batches of this tomato tokku. This is an Andhra type tokku recipe, which usually stays for a couple of months. So this I made batches and I have given it to family too. This is kind of last bit of it left. But this is a good way to do it, to store tomatoes and use tomatoes if you have a lot of produce, and store it for long. So that's all, friend, I have today. These are different type of ways I have used tomatoes and stored them so that I have enough produce for the year. As I mentioned, I started getting tomatoes towards the middle to end of August last year, and from then on I'm only using the tomatoes from the garden so far, and I think the tomatoes I have right now, it will last me till next August. So that was really good output from my gardening effect. I'm so happy on that. Thank you everyone for watching the video. If you have any further more tips, please write it in comments. Thank you. I'm cooking paneer curry today. So instead of dry chili powder, I have this red chili paste which I have frozen. So once the rest of the masalas are cooked, you can drop in your tomato frozen blocks. So basically these I'm adding two. This is already cooked down and then frozen, so you don't need to spend a lot of time cooking the tomatoes. So it can reduce your cooking time. Just leave it for some time and it will melt and then cook along with the rest of the curry. You can see all the tomatoes are melted and there's a slight reddish color to the curry, and I'll let it cook for a few more minutes and then I'll add paneer. So it's almost done now. The tomatoes are cooked. Just add in the paneer pieces and paneer curry ready. But here is the matar paneer. So I'm making rasam again with the frozen tomato blocks. Since it's cooked down, it will not take much time to make the rasam. Just have to melt and then cook it. Very easy, quick, and very easy and quick rasam. Yummy rasam is ready. So I'm making a curry where I'm using the frozen tomatoes. Once you have your onions and spices done, you can just dump in your frozen tomatoes. Since these are already washed and processed, I don't wash them nor I thaw them. They will cook along with this, and then add little bit water and let it cook. So till the tomatoes will be cooked in some time. If you see, it's all tomato is all mashed up now. You can proceed with your rest of the cooking. Only cooked chole and tomato curry.